welcome to Agile Parent Entrepreneur. Today I'm speaking with Ese. She is the founder of The Turnouts, an award-winning baby wear company in the UK. She came from an investment banking background, so when she was pregnant with Judah, she had this idea for The Turnouts. And she was able to turn this idea into a reality and an award-winning company. Anyway, let's start talking to Ese. Hi, how are you, Ese? How are you?
I'm great. I'm doing really well.
Good. So I believe in the UK right now it's Friday afternoon.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, so where's
On the
Judah?
afternoon. So he's currently having a nap. So this is
Okay.
the time that I'm usually working a lot.
All right. Well, let's hope that he's gonna stay asleep for a bit, and but
Yeah.
he's welcome to join our call if necessary. Okay. Well, last time I spoke with you, I was really impressed by how focused you are on this company. Let's talk about what the turnout is and how you created the company.
Okay. Well, the story of turnouts, as you said, started a couple of years ago. I was pregnant with my son, and I didn't tell people the gender. And I found that, naturally they buy gifts which are unisex. So that's white, yellows, greys. And by the time he was born, I found that a lot of the times I'd put him in clothes, and he was such a boisterous and active baby, it didn't really seem to suit him as much. So I thought, maybe there was something that is like gender reversible. So you would have pinks on one side and blues on the other. And I went online and checked, and there just wasn't anything in the UK that did that. And I was going to be on maternity leave for a while, and my husband knows how much of a busybody I am. And he said it like on a whim, like, why don't you try and start it? Why don't you look into it? And then that's where the kind of addiction took over. I love looking into new things and investigating, and seeing how far I can get with an idea.
Uh-huh.
And that's what I did. I
That's
looked
awesome.
into it, I did the research, and the more I thought of the idea and started designing and things like that, the more it kind of consumed me, and the more of the idea of having my own baby brand just really, really became so much more exciting. So then I just went through the motions. I again did a lot of research. I did a full business plan to make sure that the company would have, the best chance once I'd launched. And then yeah, we took it from there.
And what kind of research exactly did you do? Did you go online or was it different sources?
Well, yeah. So mainly, most of my research was done online, and that was up until the point of making sure the business was a viable business. So I went online and I looked into the baby wear market
Mm-hmm.
and how well it was doing, how it weathered the recession. And one section of my business plan was just generally looking at the market. And I found that the baby industry is a very resilient one, simply because year after year in the UK, there's still roughly 700,000 births every year. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a sustainable number. And if anything, it's always growing. So we found that, okay, we have a sustainable market because that is something where we can see, and all across the world, people are going to be having babies. But then what we wanted to look into, especially for our idea,
Yeah.
is the trend of people not finding out the gender. And even more so, maybe just not telling people. Because I know in lots of different cultures, and I come from, a Nigerian culture. And again, it's very often that even if you knew the gender, you may not share it with everybody. You just maybe just your husband and maybe close relatives may know. And then that again, it led way for access of our product, being
Mm-hmm.
able to buy gifts for somebody. That's a great gift, really well packaged, and serves that purpose. So we had to investigate as to how viable this would be and how people would receive it. So we did a lot of research online first of all into the general market, and then we looked into actually speaking with mothers, speaking with people, and what their perception would be if something like this came about. And everyone seemed wild by it. Everyone was thinking, "Oh, how has this not been invented before?" And that's the thing, because even me, when I first thought of it, I thought there must be something out there.
Exactly.
And especially in the UK, you would think that there would something already exist, but there wasn't. And that's where I thought, okay, well, there's a niche here, there's a market here, and a lot of people I do know that as soon as they have their baby, then they start buying more gender specific clothing for them. So maybe the few things they initially bought, maybe just to bring baby home from hospital, really quickly gets discarded, and then they start buying those things which are very gender specific. And
Mm-hmm.
again, seeing that trend just amongst my family and friends. I mean, I'm the youngest of 12, so I have quite a lot of nephews and nieces. And again, that's seeing those trends and what happens in the instances where maybe they've kept the gender a surprise,
Yes.
and just seeing how that plays out. in real life,
Hmm.
that was a way for me to do a lot of background research and then be able to target a lot of mothers in the local community, nurseries, schools, and just ask and get their feedback.
Okay, wow, that's awesome. And once you got this ideas started, how were you able to get your idea realized? How do you find your supplier?
Well, yeah, so I'm a very big fan of this new kind of culture that is out there where you could write your requirement and people would kind of bid for your business.
Yeah.
And that is so prevalent everywhere now. I mean, in terms of looking for suppliers, the first thing that came to my mind when you think of manufacturing, a lot of the time you think of Far East countries, so that's kind of in Asia. So many. I literally looked at my son's baby clothes and looked at where most of them were manufactured, and a lot of them were in Thailand, Indonesia, China, etc. So when I looked into that and I went did some research online and I joined up some different business forums where I could ask these questions, and a lot of people were saying that's where you're going to get things made at the most cost effective price. But then me at that time having a new baby and not being able to travel out to those countries, it did kind of make me stop and think, how will I be able to manage that relationship,
Hmm.
especially if there's maybe not only a language barrier, but even a cultural barrier in terms of maybe the way that business is usually done. And also in the fact of being able to manage that process end to end, I thought maybe a little bit difficult. And then I thought to myself, well, let's look into the UK. I mean, that would be the easiest route because this is where I am. I can travel, I can see. But then again, looking into the UK, it was just too expensive for the margins that we would need to realise, especially as I had plans for our things to be sold not only directly by us, but in stores through wholesalers. We would
Hmm.
need to have a very healthy margin to be able to do that.
Exactly.
So that's where the UK for me just didn't work. The numbers didn't work, and especially because when you think about our clothing, a lot of the time it's actually the cost of two clothes in one because it's gender reversible. You literally do have physically two items sewn back to back,
Oh,
so the
wow.
production costs is going to be higher than maybe even a single item. And whereas we need it to be as low as a single item because once the user or the customer has the item, they're only going to wear it that one way initially and then until they have maybe another child, etc.
Hmm.
So that's what the challenges we had within the UK. And then a friend of mine who was actually helping to do our website at the time, he mentioned, why have you tried Turkey? Because that's where, for another client he was working on, they were using a manufacturer in Turkey for their kind of clothing line and clothing brand. So again, on me, I'm always online. I'm literally glued to my laptop. So I went straight online and I did a little bit of research to think manufacturing in Turkey. And there was one website where there was lots of Turkish manufacturers, and you could write a description of what you wanted,
Hmm.
and you could make it very detailed or even a little bit vague, and you would get lots of different replies and hits as to those who could fulfill your criteria.
Hmm.
And so what I found is from the person that I went with in the end is I wanted somebody who was experienced in making maybe more complicated items rather than just your simple baby grows. Simply because we knew that what we were looking for probably had never been done by the manufacturer we would choose, but we wanted to make sure they had a depth of experience in making clothes so that it wouldn't be so challenging for them to do what we wanted to do. I
Hmm.
mean, so many of them would have just regular patterns for clothing that anything bespoke would either inflate the costs quite high or maybe you would have a lower quality. And our manufacturer we went with, they manufacture for countries around the world, but they also have their own baby brand.
Oh,
And
okay.
that was what made me feel more confident to go with them because I could see from there that he sent me a link to their online like lookbook of
Hmm.
what they were doing, and that let me know that they have quite a good depth in the market and they know how to manufacture clothes to quite a good degree of difficulty as well.
So, how long did it take you from having your idea to actually getting the sample, your baby clothes sample with you?
So that again, the benefit with Turkey, and I didn't realize it at the time, is that DHL is really quick. Like I could be having a call with him like this afternoon, and the sample will be here tomorrow.
Hmm.
Like that's
Wow,
how
that's
quick
amazing.
that's
Yes.
how quick things could be sent. So I found that from the time I had my idea, or I started really looking into it once I had my son,
Yeah,
to the time that I received my first sample was maybe between 6 and 8 months.
that's crazy. Wow, that's quite fast.
Yeah, I think because I'm very once I have my mind set on something, I am at it every day. It kind of consumes me, and I'm not the type of person that I have maybe the most leisure time, and maybe that's something again I'm always trying to work on and balance. But I'm very, very, if I'm into working on something, I go at very intense, and I want to realize my goals as quick as I can. And there is
That's amazing.
sometimes a virtue in waiting a bit more and testing a bit longer, and things you learn by doing it a bit slower. But I found that from having the very first sample, and the first sample wasn't in my particular colors, it was just concept of what I wanted, and then we refined the design. But yeah, it was about maybe between 6 and 8 months
And
from speaking with them, and yeah.
so, how many hours per week do you spend on this business?
I find that I spend usually a couple of hours most evenings. So
Hmm.
probably, I mean, there's maybe a few evenings that I don't, especially on weekends when I'm busy. But in during the week, I find that so once I collect my son from nursery, and I come home, and he has snacks and playtime and goes to bed. From him going to bed maybe at 8 o'clock, then I'll be working on it to maybe 11 midnight. And I work on it very much. Again, for me, it's my kind of. It's kind of like I do find something working on leisure because I'm so involved in it, and because this is a passion that I have. It doesn't seem like negative, hard, tedious work. I mean, there are some
Exactly.
tasks which are more tedious than others, but I find that because I've been learning so much of how to do things. I've learned so many systems and so many things to do that I love that process of wow, now I know how to do this. Wow, and now I'm doing this. Or maybe one day it might just be simply choosing out of I've been submitted 60 designs. I'm choosing one design and going back and forth with designers and refining it. So those type of things are the type of things I would like to do anyway. They're not really tedious kind of negative tasks. So that's why I find that I can spend a lot of time doing it on a day by day basis and not really mind.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm starting with Agile Parent Entrepreneur, but I get a chance to speak with a lot of inspiring entrepreneurs out there. For me,
Yeah.
it's not really a job, but
Yeah.
it's just a great project that I consume myself in. So I totally
Exactly.
agree with you. Yes. So
Yeah.
what was it for you? Was it, you don't have to get into specifics, but was it a big financial commitment for you, or you've decided to bootstrap everything?
Well, I think that there was, I mean, there's a financial commitment in terms of we had to purchase an initial amount of stock.
Yeah,
As you probably know, with a lot of manufacturers, they do have minimum order quantities.
exactly.
And that's where I find a lot of people that kind of stops them to some degree.
Hmm.
Now, one thing I know in life is that if you don't ask, you don't get. So even though a lot of them would have minimum order quantities, and it might be maybe 1,000 pieces in each design and each size, and that was the initial requirement of our manufacturer. We were able to negotiate, for example, two designs in two different items and in two different sizes in each item. I mean, still in for all of those, criteria at the 1,000 pieces. So we were very much able to negotiate things simply because we were able to explain that we're a brand new business starting out, so we haven't got the capital to be able to order, 6,000 pieces for that requirement. But we still do need to have a variation. We need to vary sizes. And although we would have loved to have maybe more sizes and more designs, we were able to work with them and say, okay, well, we're going to cap out two different styles. And then, because as you can imagine, each one style was actually two different designs anyway, because
Exactly.
one color is one and one's the other.
Yeah.
So it's like so really you have those four designs, and they're on each item, and then you have the different sizes. So
Hmm.
just being able to negotiate hard, which I mean, my manufacturer contact would say that I do negotiate very very hard. And I just feel that there's so many different things that unless there's a fixed price that they're scanning at a till, and even then you can negotiate to some degree. So that's where I felt that I was able to. It was still, a financial outlet, as you can imagine, for still 1,000 pieces,
Of
but
course.
a lot of that is going directly to the sales. So it's not so much is spent on marketing or so much is spent on things which you're not sure what the tangible output would be. But with the most of our outlay going to actual stock, we know that well we sell an item at X price, so you're directly making back the money and obviously the margin on top of that.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, now let's talk about winning the top mompreneur awards. Are you excited?
Oh, I was so excited when I got the email. I was
Yeah.
just screaming. And the thing is that the week before that, the brand itself had won its first award. So Turnouts was reviewed by Busy Baby
Uh-huh.
here in the UK, and they had just won gold. So I was still on a massive high from that. But to win Mompreneur of the Year 2015, that for me was such a massive achievement. And I remember my husband saying, no matter what happens, no one can take that away from you. No matter what happens, this is
Exactly.
something that I've been able to achieve. And again, I know so many, like thousands of women apply for this on a yearly basis.
Mm-hmm.
And to think that my kind of humble story and my product was able to win that award, I was just so ecstatic. And I remember I called my sisters, and we have a little happy dance that we were doing. And I was just so happy to have won. Because it kind of helps sometimes when you have a little bit of lack of confidence. It just helps to validate things, that there's other people who see the promise in what you're doing and see that hard work that has gone into producing something. And to think we've only launched 3 months ago, and we've already won those 2 awards. It was amazing.
Well, what prompted you to enter to these awards, and what made your product stand out compared to others?
Well, in terms of what made me enter, is one thing I think in planning or launching any business or launching any product, I always think is, where do I want this product to be? What do I want to achieve? And so in 12 months time, in even shorter than that, in 6 months time, and I feel, how can I actually get there with active steps? Now I've followed before, as I was, before I was launched a product, and as I was going through the steps, I looked at similar products. I looked at the market in general of independent mompreneurs launching their own products. And I looked at ones that stood out and did well, and things that happened for them. And a lot of them would, enter themselves into these awards. There's quite a few, maybe up to 10 even in the UK, that you could enter your product in, and they'll be reviewed independently by mums all around the world, and but mainly here in the UK. And what you find out is that, directly your target market are seeing your product and giving their honest, unbiased opinion. And I think that is such a great way to get just feedback, just get honest feedback. Because if you ask your friends and family, they would naturally want to be as positive. And my friends would, and my mum obviously would say, "Oh, it's the best thing ever," and they would, that's their ammo. That's the way they feel the show they love to you. But somebody who has no idea who you are and
Yes.
just receives the box in the mail, they can just be honest. And so I've always wanted to get that feedback,
Mm-hmm.
in that way. But I stumbled upon Mompreneur, as I was just, genuinely looking at other places that I could enter the product. I never really thought, well, I'm going to enter myself for an award. But when I came across the website, because they do a section which is a product you put in and they review, but their main thing is actually the mums who behind businesses and behind products. And I just thought that, looking at how I came about this product and looking at some of the loss I've been through that kind of even spurred me to get to this point, I thought, well, that's a story that sometimes, if you share, it can inspire others, and it can let people know that sometimes life will be difficult and sometimes things go wrong. And one of my favorite sayings, that I heard years ago, was that when life, throws you lemons, you make lemonade. And it may not be the greatest thing that's happened, but there's always, a reason why you've gone through maybe different experiences. And I just shared that story with them, and it resonated with them for them to pick me as one of the winners.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, so the marketing, let's talk about marketing. What's been working for you in terms of marketing activities these days?
I think one of the things that works really well for me is, Facebook. So
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, I find, is really easier than you would think to be able to market on Facebook. Now, I initially thought that Facebook, being a massive organization, and to advertise in there, you would need thousands and thousands of pounds, and it would be such a complex process, and you have to have an ad department and all these type of things. And it's not like that at all. It is actually really, really easy. As me as an individual, I can set up my account as and say I have a business, and say I want to maybe put an ad out there for people to just like my Facebook page, become a follower of what I do, and you can limit yourself with really small budgets, like £2-3 a day, and that will generate up to 50 followers on a daily basis, just by putting out some good photos and a attention grabbing headline, and people will come, kind of thing. Because I think the notion or the idea of, well, let me just create my product and people will love it and just rush and buy it, that isn't the reality. You would need to market, and it's good to market in ways that your clients or your customers are actually going to be there. That's the way that they themselves would naturally have access to a product like yours. So they're not just going to know of a mysterious turnouts.co.uk website. If you don't tell them about it, and if you don't educate them about it, and if they don't see a fun side to it, and if they don't see photos or videos of it, it's going to be difficult. So I mean, we've started our Facebook campaign trying to get followers maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, and we've got about 2,000 followers to date just by doing competitions and doing ads about our product, etc. And again, we spend very little, couple of pounds a day, to just generate traffic to our Facebook page. So that has been working quite well.
Can you give
And
us
also,
an example? Sorry, can you give us an example of the kind of competitions you hosted?
yeah. So the one we did last, we call it baby bump competition. So women just had to post a photo of their bump and saying that obviously how far they were along and if they knew they were having a boy or girl. And it was simple as that. So all you need to do is just post a photo. But that would itself, it would generate people obviously liking the page, becoming followers, so that we can obviously send any subsequent information out to them. And also meant when we chose the winners would maybe post a photo of them receiving it. They would do a little video and post on our page. So it just helps to build interaction with our community. And maybe somebody didn't win that particular one, but at least they know a real winner is behind it. Because I see so many competitions where I never believe it's real. I never see the fruit of this competition. Like who won it? Who was the successful one? So we're very, very key. We have big photos and say, oh, this is the winner. We announce them and we invite them to share on their own timeline with their friends, etc. So that was the one we've done recently. We have an ongoing one. So every time we reach a milestone, so once we reach 2,000, we're going to announce another winner. And when we reach 3,000, we announce another winner. And it's simply just a like-a-thon. For everyone who continues to like our page, we just pick somebody at random at every milestone. So again, that would just encourage people to continue sharing with their friends and liking our page. Because again, you get double entry if you share the page and you also like the page, for example. So just ways that we just make it just fun to interact with us. And it also kind of shows the tone of Turnouts and the wider Turnouts family that, we're very much accessible. We make sure we always reply to everyone's comments or questions on our page and stuff like that. And it's just a very free or very cheap way of being able to reach your target market and access them. And Facebook make it really easy for you to target specifically who is your target audience. I mean, I would select somebody who has looked at childbirth and pregnancy websites in the last year, maybe those who've been married in the last year, if you're looking for those who are more likely to be pregnant. So there's certain ways you can really target specifically, your ideal clients or your ideal customers. So I find that's a very cheap way. And as you can imagine, Facebook, they have, I think it's 1.4 billion Facebook users, and there's only 3.5 billion internet users. So they have like a third of all internet users have a Facebook. That's a massive reach they have. So just capitalize on that. So I find that's one of the main marketing that we do. But then we also do face-to-face. We go to our baby shows. That's where we launched. We launched at the baby and toddler show in April, and we're going to be there again this September. And that gives customers to have a face-to-face with again the people behind the company and be able to see the products physically. Because as you can imagine, some people, if they're just buying it from online, they may have a little bit more skepticism than if you can see it, you can feel it, and you can very much understand the concept face to face.
And then when you do the Facebook, how do you bring them into the company and into buying the product? Do you encourage them? What kind of steps do you take?
Yeah, so once they maybe a follower of their page, and this could be for a variety of different businesses. In the product business, what we do is once they're a follower, we do regular, coupons and discounts. So as a Facebook fan, you get maybe 20% off. For example, this August we've had a sale where 20% off to all our fans, for example. And that way, they're going to be more inclined to buy at a very limited time where they get 20% off compared to maybe the normal price, and they wouldn't be getting any discounts. So you're able to, now that they're interested, because they've already shown that level of interest by being a follower of your page, you can just target them with different sales, different promotions that you're running. For example, with our baby show that we're going to be at, we get 20 tickets for free that we're able to give away to different individuals. So again, we would do different competitions where people could win a ticket to the show, and they can also get maybe discounts on our products. You come and see us on the stand, you get an extra discount on top of the discount that's going to already be there. So again, with product businesses, a lot of it is around discounts and doing bundles and things like that. But obviously, in service businesses, it could be a wide variety of ways that you can bring them into your services by offering maybe free opt-ins, by courses, ebooks, etc., for them to then come and then buy your paid service.
That's awesome. That's great. So as we start to wrap up here,
Mm-hmm.
looking back, looking at your company, is there anything you wish you would have done differently?
Yeah, I think what I probably would have done differently is started to delegate earlier, because I found, and it depends obviously on your type of person you are
Yeah.
and also your budget. But I found that I always thought that to have a PA of virtual assistants or to have anyone else helping me in the business other than myself or my husband, um, it would be extremely expensive. And that I had to do everything myself and learn everything myself and learn to make websites and learn to do. And again, that's not my skill set. My skill set that I know is that yes, I can be very, very hard work and driven, and I can drive a business, but I haven't got maybe a design background. And even though I've tried hard and I've designed things and done really well, but having somebody who that is their bread and butter, you'd get a much better better outcome. And I remember one thing is I tried to design the packaging, for example,
Yes.
and it was okay. But then when I got a professional, and I just thought to myself, let me just pay someone to design it. And I'm thinking, I mean, wait, I think I have it somewhere here. So if you look at our packaging, it's so much more
Oh,
beautiful
it's
and pretty.
beautiful. Yes,
Then I
yes.
could have never done this myself, but I would have. I tried, and it just looked an absolute hot mess when in comparison to what she did. So sometimes there's things where you just need to delegate. If you're not an expert at it and you haven't got an affinity to learn that very quickly, then I think you need to call it quits and say, let me pay and for someone to help me with it. And again, there's so many sources which could be very cheap, like Fiverr, which I think is a crazy concept. What people will do for $5, it really amazes me. And a lot of them, the reason why they do it for so little is because they're so used to doing it. For
Yes.
me, it could take me maybe half an hour just to do one Facebook post, whereas my designer 5 minutes and she's put something together. And that's the difference where I can still do it myself, but I could use my time more wisely
Mm-hmm.
if I put it towards my skills, which I'm very quick at, kind of thing. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one major thing I would say. Just delegating earlier would have kind of saved me a lot of time.
And what are the top tools you use every day?
Um, yeah, well, I think so. Some of the top tools I use, one is Asana. So that's
Mm-hmm.
my kind of scheduling tool. It helps me to know exactly what I need to do. So I wake up in the morning, Asana has already measured me. This is the task you have to do today. And I always try to get through 70% of my to-do list because that helps me to be productive. And I mean, days I finish everything, I'm just like, we go to bed early or we're going out to dinner, and you feel that sense of accomplishment because you've set yourself up in a way that I know exactly what I need to do on an everyday basis. And you even schedule in free time. So that's my scheduling time. Make sure leave this afternoon free. I'm taking my son to the park, or we're doing things together. Because again, I work during the 3 days middle of the week, but Monday and Friday when I work from home, I still want to make sure I have time. Sun's out today. We'll go to the park after this kind of thing. So, but that's one of my key tools that I do use. Some of the other tools I use in general just for marketing is Canva and PicMonkey.
Oh, I
These
love them. Yes.
I love these. I mean, I'm a PicMonkey junkie, and I discovered Canva, and I'm slightly converting as well because I mean, it's like I wish like it's like in a previous life I used to be a graphic designer. That's kind of what's coming through, and I love it. Even though sometimes I can spend too much time on it, and that's what I've had to kind of pull a bit back from. But I do love designing, and they make it so easy. Like
Exactly.
somebody who's a novice, like absolutely no experience, you can design beautiful things for free. And
Perfect.
I'm
That's
all for the
awesome.
freemiums. I use so many of them. Like even my accounting software, the one I use is called Wave, and Wave is a free accounting software. It's very very good. I'll say akin to some of the cash flow and QuickBooks that are out there, but it's 100% free. Now, when you have a bigger business, when you need a lot more to it, then maybe I may upgrade. But for now, I'm happy with Wave, and I stick to that because that syncs with my business account, syncs with my PayPal. So I love it. So that's another tool that I use just for my day-to-day accounting and bookkeeping.
Well, that's awesome. I think we had so much fun talking to you. So if people would like to contact you, what would be the best way?
Well, yeah, to contact me, they can just shoot me an email. It's essay@turnouts.co.uk. Again, on our Facebook page, which is the Turnouts family, you can find us there. And any messages, I'm usually the one who does still respond to them. So yeah, just on our emails, on our Facebook. We have it Instagram and Twitter. So any of the normal social media outlets, you can find us there at turnouts.co.uk.
Awesome. Well, keep us posted. Let
Yeah.
us know if there's any sales and discounts. We always love to hear those. And well, thank you very much for coming to talk to us.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Melinda. It's been
Bye.
great. Thank you. Bye.